Hello everyone and welcome on De Papier et de Rêves channel. I'm Ursula and today I will be painting with you a London house. You will see later that I have made a big mistake in this watercolor painting, but I decided to show you this painting nonetheless because there is quite interesting thing too in this painting, so I hope you liked it. So this painting is about a house in London with a very nice wisteria along the wall of the house. So it's not really a subject for a winter season, but I'm tired of snow and it's snowing still today in Stockholm. So I'm painting wisteria with nice colors. My goal for this watercolor painting is to show you how to simplify a very dense subject. My reference picture is quite dense in information and I have to simplify it for me to be easier to paint and for the spectator to understand it quickly. So I start my first layer with very loose colors. They are all merging in one another and I'm just focusing on placing the good color in the right place. Like I said all the time, the first layer is not at all about details, but more about really vague impression of your subject, and details will come a bit later. The only thing I will pay a bit extra attention to is the white in my painting, because I cannot paint white. It has to be the white of the paper, so I'm really careful to paint around the white area. And here comes my big mistake. So right now I'm painting a window in a very dark color, and it's not in the right perspective angle. My door is almost right in front, but the window is tilted a little bit, so it's not okay at all. And sadly I didn't saw it until the end of my painting, and I cannot do anything to correct that now. And it's a perfect timing to remind you that sketching before painting is quite a good idea, and you should do that, and I should do that too. And I should also mark a little bit more my sketch with bolder marks, because when I paint my first wash, often I cannot see my sketch anymore, so I'm a bit lost. So I need to draw a little bit more. But let's forget this mistake for now, and I will talk a little bit more about the good point in this painting. And one of them is the way the tree overlap the window and the door on the right. I think I've managed to paint it quite nicely. With the help of dry brush, when I paint the window, I can make a little bit of texture that mimic the leaves on the tree, and I think it's quite a nice texture I've made right there. Clearly on this painting I could pass hours and hours painting details, but that's not the thing interesting here. I do like to paint a bit more loosely and in the emotion, more than in a very realistic way. So there is a lot of tips and tricks you can use to make your painting look really nice and quite realistic, but not totally. For example, on the wall, it's a brick wall, and I didn't paint all the brick on the wall. I just paint some of them in different places, and your brain is doing the rest for me. And when you see this, you will think totally, it's a brick wall. And you don't need much more to understand that. And it's working also for the tree on the right, and it will work also for the glycine. I'm painting a texture, and your brain will fill up the gap. And I've used quite the same techniques that I've used in a previous video where I was painting a house also. And it's just mimicking a texture and letting your brain fill up the gap. Really, it's just all that. Maybe it's a bit tricky to know what I should paint to make that texture, but with a little bit of exercise and experience, you will get it very quickly. And now I'm painting a little bit more the Wisteria, and I did have quite a hard time to find the right color for this Wisteria. It was a little bit too bluish or too pinkish in my first try, but when I had the color Lavender from Daniel Smith on top of my Wisteria, everything came along and it was a little bit better. And it's an opaque color, so I was able to paint on top also of the wall, of the color of the wall, and it still shows as a lavender. So that's a nice thing happening now. And for the other color of my Wisteria, I've used Rose Madder Lake from Sennelier and Indanthrene Blue from Sennelier also. In fact, the tree on the right and the Wisteria are painting a little bit in the same way. I'm using my brush in a flat direction and also with a point in order to make a lot of different marks that will create this texture of leaves and flowers. For the tree, I use a little bit more the point of my brush, and for the Wisteria, more the flat of my brush in order to get this oval shape of the grapes of flower typical in a Wisteria. And for the color of the tree, I've used also Indanthrene Blue and a little bit of Quinacridone Gold and Viridian. And as Indanthrene Blue is also used in the Wisteria, it creates a nice unity in the colors and makes the painting whole. And now let's talk about supplies. For the brushes, I've used Raphaël Petit Gris 803 No. 2 and a silver brush Black Velvet 1/4 inch in a dagger shape. For the color, I've used Indanthrene Blue, Viridian, Verona Gold Ochre, Quinacridone Gold, Quinacridone Burnt Scarlet, Rose Madder Lake, and Lavender. And for my paper, I've used some Canson Héritage in rough. And now my painting is almost finished. The multiple layer on top of my first layer has given a lot of depth and volume to all my elements. And now I'm adding a little bit of details, detail in the branches of the Wisteria and branches and leaves in the tree on the right. Some details on the door in order to get a little bit more of texture in here. And I will also add a little bit of shadows on the door, on the windows, in order to get a little bit more depth also. So for the shadows, I'm using a gray, a mixed between Indanthrene Blue and Quinacridone Burnt Scarlet. It's make a really wonderful gray, a little bit warm, which is nice in this painting. and as the Quinacridone burnt scarlet and the Indanthrene blue are already used in the other color of my painting, it also unifies everything. So I cannot say I like this picture because of my mistake at the beginning. I see just this mistake and none of the other parts. So that's a bit sad, because I think there is quite a lot of interesting things in this painting. So I will have to really pay more attention to perspective and my drawing at the beginning of a painting. But I think that the Wisteria is really well rendered. The texture is really nice, and so as the tree on the right. So that's a nice point of my painting. I have to focus on that and tell me that it's not that bad. And this video is now ending. Thanks for watching. Please check the blog post about this painting. I'm talking a little bit more about that painting, and I show you a first sketch I've made on this painting. The link will be in the description below. And please tell me what you think about this painting in the comments. See you soon.